first bring up our town clerk, Jerry Compitello, who is going to present, this is for January 2024, the Ron Klusner Excellence Award. Ron, say it. But I'll ask Jerry to make the presentation on the employee who's been selected for this month.
Thank you very much. So when Rich asked who wanted to present this, I jumped. I leaped over the table to get this one. Steve Gravano is so near and dear to each and every one of us. Besides that, he makes us look young and thin in pictures. He is always Johnny on the spot anytime we ever need anything. Steve is right there. Besides your art, your human nature is beyond compare. I love you. We all love you, and nobody deserves this more than you. But who's going to take the pictures now?
Gavin, you're going to take it?
Oh, Gavin, yep.
Does Steve get the cookies too, or? Gavin, does Steve get the cookies too?
Where do you want us?
Can we put you
Wait,
up?
he still has to set us up. One right here.
Yeah, can we put you up?
You could look right there. There you go. We can have a backup iPhone.
I feel like I'm going to bust into tears.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
There we go.
By the seal, let's
All
go.
right, yeah, we'll do another one of this. Thank you.
There you go. Are you going to join us?
Can I have a supervisor on both sides?
Yes.
You know, is that, I actually put a different lens on it.
Oh, okay.
Might have to stand on the table. I caught that. Thank you.
Yeah, hold on. Make it,
Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, actually.
one more.
Yay, Steve, so deserved.
Sarah?
Excuse Dad.
Where is he? Oh, yeah. Good. Tara? So I'm going to introduce Councilman McSweeney for a very special presentation. In fact, amongst us, we have a world champion who looks a little uncomfortable about being recognized. But I'll turn it over to Terry for the presentation. Terry?
He looks as uncomfortable here as I would be on a mat with him. But I had the distinct honor to offer this proclamation on behalf of the supervisor and the entire town board to Terrence Hines. Yep.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. So Terrence traveled to Sydney, Australia, and came away with 2 world championship belts. And it was the runner-up for the world grand champion from Pax Karate Academy right here in Copiague. So with our love and respect, we'd like to say congratulations. All great things do come from the town of Babylon, and here's just another example of another shining star that we have to look forward to here in Copiague and Town of Babylon. And we want to say congratulations and job well done. And we know that we're going to see a lot more from you in the future. Congratulations. And this one, I also have a citation from Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre with the New York State Assembly as well.
Nice job. Thank you very much.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'll say a few words.
So can you tell us what these 3 belts
2
are?
more inches, yeah. Don't you have those
Tell us
belts
what
where
all
you
3
move the,
Oh, yeah, sure. I could bring it up. Can you hold this for me?
Sure.
Nicely done.
And by the way, do we want to bring up Master Clark?
Yes.
Give him a shout out here.
Excellent student. Since the age of 16, he's been with me.
Wow. He looks only 17.
Give me some credit.
Come on up here, come on.
Thank you very much for this. So this gold one here is for the creative breaking, men's 18 and up. And then this bronze one right here is for power breaking, and I achieved the Grand Championship runner-up for creative breaking. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a wonderful experience. Shout out to my family, shout out to Master Clark. Without them, I wouldn't be here in this position. And looking forward to win more championships.
Just by way of information, probably a couple of thousand students have trained under Master Clark throughout the town of Babylon and the surrounding areas. So thank you
You're
for
welcome,
what you do
sir.
for these young men and women.
And I'm still at it.
Good job. Mind if do we have to check with your agent to take a picture, or? Come on
Bring
up-
your belts.
Come on up here, yeah.
You want to be in one picture?
Yeah, Mom, come on up. Congratulations.
Maybe take a couple. 1, 2, 1 more. And you got it.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This one? Oh. Good afternoon. Okay. Before we start, I'm going to introduce our, no? Hello? Hello? Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, I'm going to introduce our supervisor of the day. He has already retired me.
Fired me.
Earlier today, well, he fired you. He retired me. But Ethan Klanowski, those of you who've been here in the past, we recognized Ethan a couple of meetings ago for his accomplishments of the Duke of Edinburgh Award and the Congressional Award. Dwayne Gregory and Terry McSweeney have been mentoring Ethan over the last year and a half, and he has exceeded their expectations in terms of his accomplishments. And if you remember at the last meeting, we said that we would have him serve as supervisor of the day. So he attended the Suffolk County Supervisors Association meeting with me this morning at Brookhaven Town Hall, where he got to meet all of the other town supervisors. They took a vote and they like him better than me. And he enjoyed that conversation that we had out there, and he's been attending meetings here today. So I'm going to ask him if he wouldn't mind opening up the meeting and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd all stand. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. I'd ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers the brave servicemen and women serving our country, both here and abroad. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Ethan. Have a seat. Thank you. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta.
Here.
Councilman Martinez.
Here.
Councilman McSweeney.
Here.
Councilman Gregory.
Here.
Supervisor Schaefer.
And I am here. So all five are present. Quorum is present. This is the Wednesday, January 31st, 2024 meeting of the Babylon Town Board at 3 p.m. For those of you attending for your first time, or if you are watching us live on that date and time on our YouTube channel, meeting is divided up into three sections. The first is dedicated to the public hearings. There are 4 public hearings scheduled for today, so if you're interested in addressing the board on any of the public hearings, you need to fill out a card up front and file with our town clerk. The second portion is dedicated to the agenda. Agendas are available on the table up front, or if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, you can click on the link. That'll take you to today's agenda. If you're interested in addressing the board on any of the items on the agenda, for that we ask you to fill out a card as well. Third portion is the open portion, and that's when residents can come forward and address the board on any matters concerning town government and town services that are not on today's agenda. And again, if you're watching us at a future date and time, that link is live, so you can utilize that in order to send us a message with a question or comment. One of us will get back to you. With that, we'll go into the public hearings, and the first public hearing was a public hearing on designating the premises known as 3359 Great Neck Road, North Amityville, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 001-174-001.000, a public nuisance, authorizing the boarding up of said premises and authorizing the town attorney to commence litigation. Mr. Guarino, would you like to just present? You want to use that one?
Okay. Check, 1, 2.
there you go.
This one works. Good afternoon, Jerry Guarino, Assistant Town Attorney for the Town of Babylon. Mr. Schaefer, we are here today for a public hearing to determine whether or not the Vallejo gas station located at 3359 Great Neck Road should be designated a nuisance. To that end, I have produced an officer from the 2nd Precinct named Officer Banfi. He's going to come up and give us some testimony. Mr. Banfi?
Officer, just state your name for the record.
Officer Banfi, 1st Precinct, Suffolk County.
First precinct. No.
Officer Banfi, how long have you worked? I'm sorry. What is your occupation, sir?
I'm a police officer for Suffolk County.
How long have you been a police officer?
5 years.
Okay. And all those 5 years, has that been at the 1st Precinct?
Yes, sir.
And what is your command or detail today?
As of now, I'm in 1st Precinct Crime Section, but I've also been in the Community Support Unit and on Basic Patrol.
Okay. In your capacity as a police officer, are you aware of the Vallejo gas station located at 3359 Great Neck Road?
Yes, I am.
Can you please tell the board what your experience has been with this location?
During my time in the Community Support Unit, I have made numerous and frequent checks at that location due to it being a common problem in our community. The location has received many and multiple different kind of complaints from patrons and shoppers who visit there, or just simply getting a tank of gas, or local residents, for multiple people loitering every day and every night, multiple drug use and drug sales out of the location.
Thank you. The first arrest for the nuisance notice was on April 2nd, 2022 for Russell Brooks and Shakina Lee for criminal possession of controlled substance. The second arrest was on June 29th, 2023 for Ali Ashgar for unlawfully selling alcohol to minors. Officer, in your capacity as a police officer at this location, is there any one name that sticks out in your mind as a frequent flyer of your arrest powers?
There are a few, but the one that stuck out the most was a subject named Carlos Soriano.
For the record, Carlos Soriano currently has 5 cases pending in district court, each of them for possession of controlled substances, and his next court date is on February 7th.
Is he the owner of the property, or?
No, he's an arrestee who has been
He's a patron of the property.
Yes, so the majority of our arrests come from the people who would hang out at the store or behind it. The location that was the biggest problem was behind the store, immediately behind the store. The lot is not big, but you could see from both Great Neck and Albany that both are frequent roads traveled by commuters every day, that you could see subjects hanging out on milk crates and other seats in the back, just actively participating in alcohol use and drug use.
And officer, have you interacted with the either management of the station or the owner of the property?
Yes, multiple times. Every time I'm there, I typically like to go inside the store and they see if they need anything, if they need assistance, and I'd say more often than not they say no. However, these people are still hanging out in the back, and I've made over dozens of arrests at that location alone.
So the owners or the management of the store haven't taken any action to resolve that issue of people hanging out?
No, I don't believe any of my arrests have come from 911 calls from management or any kind of complaint from management. It's just come from our frequent checks of what we call a patrol check. A patrol check is a frequent area we go to when there's a community problem, and I'd say...
So you're technically become a private security for the owner of the property?
Yes, sir.
I say that tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, so it was more so like we were there to do other people's jobs, per se, to prevent what was already being done.
So your attention to that takes away from other activities that you should be doing as Suffolk police officers?
Yes, sir. Multiple units and patrol members have actively, I'd say, lack of a better word, wasted time being there over and over each day and night.
That's a good phrase for it.
Yeah.
Based on the foregoing and the testimony by Officer Banfi, I did present a memo from the town attorney's office with this information, with all the arrest information, requesting that the property be deemed a nuisance. Also, we have the...
Submit that as part of the record.
Yes. We have Mr. Robert Chase here. Thank you, officer.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you, guys.
We have Mr. Robert Chase, who is the owner of the property, as well as attorney Kevin O'Brien, who I think would like to come up and address the board.
Sure. Mr. O'Brien, just identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Supervisor, or do I say supervisors? I'm not 100% sure, but I guess, Ethan, you're involved in this as well. So good afternoon to both of you, as well as honorable members of the board. My name is Kevin O'Brien. I am from O'Brien Law PC, offices at 462 Sagamore Avenue, East Williston, New York, here on behalf of the property owner. Yes, I became aware of this. I've discussed this at great length with the property. Well, Robert Chase is one of the property owners. I had met with Mr. Bartolomeo earlier this afternoon. And first and foremost, I just want to assure the board that, hey, we take this very seriously. You know, these are serious concerns, serious accusations. So we don't take this lightly. We've owned the property for maybe, close to 35 years. We presently lease the property and have been leasing the property. I believe it's located, and you're gonna have to forgive me because sometimes I get my north, west, and east and south mixed up in certain areas. Like even when I go on 109, I never know if that's north or south or what. But so I think it's the northwest corner of Albany and Great Neck, and we've got the town building across the way. We've got the General Dollar. We've got some nice homes in the area. We have I think a child care center across the street. The premises, I do have to say, it's well maintained. It's clean. Some situations can be unfortunate, and some certainly can be controlled and dealt with appropriately by the tenant, by the property owner, by the authorities. In this particular instance, so the one instance that we had was the sale of alcoholic beverages to a minor. Intolerable. The person was fired immediately. They were all trained. I find it personally inexcusable, for that because, and as I was mentioning, I go to Yankee Stadium and look at me. I don't look like a young man, and they proof me because their license is that important to them. They proof everybody. My wife is flattered. I'm not so much, but they proof everybody. So in that situation, so to me, it's just it's intolerable. I don't care if they're busy. So the guy was fired immediately. The SLA jumps in. So the tenant is being punished, quite frankly, on multiple levels in connection with that
Kevin, who is
particular
the tenant?
incident.
Who is the tenant? What's the name of the tenant?
I forget his name. I'm sorry? Paris Enterprises? Okay.
Is there a principal or some?
Mohammed, I'm not 100%
If you
sure
could-
of his
if
last
you
name,
could
but
get
we can
us-
get that. We can get
Yeah.
that information for the town. We'll submit that.
Yeah,
certainly.
we'd like to meet with the tenant.
Certainly.
Because again, I think that the tenant's the main person to be responsible here in terms of, I'm assuming the tenant does the hiring of the personnel who work in the, is it a 24-hour?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So yes, and they're all given guidelines.
Because I know Nick Bartolomeo,
Yeah.
and I don't know this gentleman, but I know Nick's record is very stellar in the town
yeah.
in terms of his operations and the effort and money and investments that he puts into his.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a partnership location, but it is leased out to a separate
Yeah,
tenant.
we'd like to talk to the tenant.
Sure. So we'll get that
'Cause
information.
That's the person who should be here.
Yeah, so we'll get that. But we've also taken extra steps as well in connection with it. So as was mentioned, sometimes behind a location, people can congregate. So we've installed cameras. The one thing we haven't done, which I've requested and they will be doing, is that in addition to the cameras, but having notices and signs that say under 24-hour surveillance, because I find what people see, people should be sharp enough to be able to see the cameras themselves, but when they see the signs knowing that you're on candid camera, nobody wants to engage in any sort of nefarious activity if you see something like that. The other step that we've increased the lighting within the code, the town requirements. I mean, we don't want to blind drivers, going by, but we want to have it, illuminated enough that, nobody will be loitering or congregating. And also to that end, what we've done is, and I think this is extremely helpful, where we've put up some new fencing, and particularly fencing, A, around the dumpster, which is locked, and B, around the back of the building. So you cannot access, while there's landscape area behind the building, you can't access the back of the building the way you previously could. You could just walk around because it was free and accessible. It's no longer accessible because we have kind of nice fencing with sort of like the black slats and stuff like that, so it's sort of unobtrusive, but it's locked. So you cannot gain any access to the back of the premises. And like I said, we have the cameras both on the inside of the premises and the outside of the premises, to act as a deterrent. And like I said, we will be installing those signs to reflect that as well. Like I said, the premises is kept neat, clean, well-lit, and I believe that the steps that we've taken to address this as the landlord, and certainly have imparted it onto the tenant, but by all means, we will share the tenant's, information with the town and with council in that regard.
When was the fencing put up?
The fencing was put up, I believe, within the last 6 months.
Have they seen, a decline in the congregation and the sitting on the milk crates during that time?
They can't, because there's nothing, they can't access it. Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, and just the officer is indicating his agreement with that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So I think that was a big help, and I've noticed that, and I think the fencing is very important, but along with the other steps as well.
I have a question too. So how
Certainly.
long has this current tenant been a tenant?
A number of years, about 7 or 8 years.
Because from the officer's testimony, this is going on for a while. I've gone to that gas station. I didn't feel safe. So I just stopped going there. But we have a town facility across the street. We have a child care center across the street. This has not been a recent incident. Have you been notified of past arrests?
Maybe a number of years ago. It's nothing, these two ones were comparatively recent.
I looked at the documentation that our attorney sent, and there were 5 arrests in May, June.
I haven't seen that memo, so I'm not,
22.
Yeah, we'll get you a copy of this.
sure. And let's face it, we're in business, we want you to feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable, that's not good for us. So, in that, I'm sort of glad that you brought that to my attention, because we want our customers, because otherwise, we're not gonna have customers, and if you're not gonna have customers, you're not gonna stay in business. So it's important that that the patrons that come there, feel comfortable, and that we address, I believe we've addressed, the loitering and those sort of issues, and I hope we have, and I think you'll see an improvement in the future, and hopefully the officers won't have to be making a stop there for anything but cups of coffee.
The board should note that Mr. Siriano, who the officer referenced, has 5 pending cases. Those arrests occurred in October and November of last year.
Of 23?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank you
if
for
you could
hearing
get
us.
us the
Okay.
tenant information.
Yes, absolutely. Get that right away.
Yeah, let's meet out there.
Yeah.
And let's make a note that I'm sure that the only other area potential hangout would be behind the General Dollar. And I know I've had a couple of inquiries from residents about the General Dollar, so let's get them to do something similar. We'll do a package deal. That's Jim, what's his name's? Kaplan. Get his, what's the property manager's name? Yeah, we'll round up the property manager, and if you could make yourself available, or the officers familiar, we'd like to get them to respond to what will make your job easier. Absolutely. Good.
Yeah, and we'll certainly, would
No, we
love to attend and have the tenant and everybody there as
No,
well.
no, no, yeah, we'll meet
Yeah, it's in
on
all our
site.
best interest, absolutely.
Good.
Okay, thank you, thank you
you.
for hearing us.
Okay, I don't have anything else on this, so I'll take a motion to close and reserve by Councilman Mineta, second by Councilman Martinez. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing is closed, decision reserved. Second public hearing is a public hearing in reference to amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-8, the Town of Babylon Uniform Code of Traffic Ordinances. I don't have any cards, so I'll take a motion from Councilman Martinez, second by Councilman McSweeney. Close and reserve. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing is closed, decision reserved. Third public hearing is a public hearing on a proposed local law. This is for the battery moratorium. I'm going to ask if Jerry Owenberg.
Yeah, I didn't fill out the card, but I think you all know me. I'll fill out a card if
No, you can come up and just, speak from that one, Jerry.
I know this preliminary, you just started this.
Just state your name and address.
Jerry Ohnberg from West Babylon, 412 Kings Court in West Babylon. Besides being a resident there, I'm part of the fire department, ex-chief from there. There's a lot of concerns with the lithium batteries. Everybody knows that. It's around the whole world. Besides the effect that there's no way to put them out. Kind of caught before the horse thing here. They don't, right? We had an incident in Manaville, 11,000 gallons of water just to cool it off. A lot of environmental, all of that stuff, all of those, when you get into the research of this stuff, all of that stuff is bad for the environment, bad to breathe. How are they going to control that? How are they going to control if there's an accident in the building, that these things fall over and get damaged, leak into the system, besides the employees that work there, for the residents in the area, if it does go on fire, evacuation, what kind of plans do they have for that? And the DEC has been very quiet on this. I don't know why. That's across the whole world. You don't hear much from them, which is remarkable. And when you get into this, I hope the West Babylon's involved and the town chiefs are involved, obviously. And if we have a fire there, it's going to be an invitational. You know that. But any help that we can do to, when you start doing the research into this, environmental-wise, and how to address these things, I'm always available, and West Babylon's always available, and town chiefs, that are available. But
We appreciate
but
that.
a lot of concerns about this stuff.
Yeah, and Jerry, that's why we want to do this pause, because we think that it's important, and we've already spoke amongst ourselves, and we have a professional firefighter on the board who's had experience already in his role as an member of the FDNY. We spoke earlier at the Suffolk County Supervisors Association, and the other towns are going to be sharing with us. Huntington has a working group in place already. Southampton has a working group. Riverhead has a working group. We want to set up a working group here to discuss, and we'll involve the town chiefs and the various departments. So we appreciate.
The State Fire, FASNY has a.
So we'll be getting that going once the board takes action on the moratorium.
All right. Anything we can help with that discussion?
Great. Thank you,
All right.
Jerry. Muzio Tellini?
Good morning, Supervisor.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon.
Muzio Tellini, 1311, Hempstead Turnpike, Elmont, New York. I support this moratorium under one caveat, that we get the best people to advise the town. As some of you know, I'm an engineer as well, and I've studied this issue probably for the last 2 years. I like to know how things work. One of the people that I think this board should reach out to is an FDNY guy by the name of Paul Rogers. Terrence, you may be familiar with him. He's probably the gold standard when it comes to battery safety. And
Simon for
I can give you his contact. I'll share it with you
Yeah, that would- that
afterwards.
would be
I have.
helpful. Thank
I spoke to him about a few other things, and he's one of the lead guys that does all the investigations when these things have problems, like you read about in the paper. One of the things that I didn't read in the paper, it's not Newsday's fault, but there's different chemistries involved with batteries, and specifically the one in the Hampton one, that's an old chemistry. And if you really study where the batteries are headed, chemistry-wise, and how the bonds are formed when you get into trouble. I don't want to make this a chemistry class, but you have to understand that there's different chemistries involved. And that's why I think Paul Rogers is a really good resource that not just this board, but every board that's looking into it should reference. The other caveat is, whatever comes out at the other end of this, I'd like this to be the model by which every municipality in the state reviews their battery projects. If we can all subscribe to that, I'd like to participate.
Sure.
If that's possible. I don't know who the lead person is, how that's working out, but I've studied this quite a bit, and I think I have some information that would probably be relevant.
Good, we'll involve you in that.
Okay.
And the way we left it with the supervisors was that we all agreed that we needed to come out with a unified position.
That's why I think the moratorium is good. I think you guys need time to analyze things. I was there a few years ago as well when this stuff was happening. I go, wait a minute, I have some of the similar questions that's going on right now. And I went out and sought answers and spoke to the right people. So I think it's helpful that you study it, but let's get the best people advising. That's always important.
Good, and we'll include you in that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a nice afternoon.
You too, thank you.
Terrence, I don't know how you want me to share the number,
Yeah, are you going to stick around?
if you want me to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Monsieur.
Okay, you're welcome.
Happy New Year. So I don't have any other cards on that, so I'll take a motion from Councilman McSweeney, second. Oh, I'm sorry.
I submitted a card.
Oh, you submitted a card?
Mitchell Goldstein? If it's still on the table?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Good afternoon.
Just state your name and address.
Absolutely. Mitchell Goldstein, 43 Eastmore Drive in Melville. I wanted to give you my expertise on this. I have 40 years of experience as a consulting engineer in the bulk energy, in other words, how we get power to our houses. I have 10 years of experience associated with battery energy storage systems, basically from the beginning on to where we are right now. And I've installed over 890 megawatts worth of battery energy storage throughout the world. Some is pending, some are all online. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason why I'm here is that I want to basically provide my expertise and my knowledge base to your committee to assist in making sure the fact that Babylon has the best code standards and procedures for battery energy storage. There are a lot of developers that take a shortcut, which lead to problems. Also developing emergency operation plans, standard operation plans, and also understanding where we are in terms of residential properties. While New York State has basically stated the fact that a battery fire is no more toxic than mattresses burning, I don't necessarily agree with that. However, I want to provide to the record this package from American Clean Power, which was developed in July of 2023 as a primer for the committee. This indicates all the codes and standards, 9540, 9540A, UL, NFPA 855, and other ISO standards, which I actually have been a member of. But it's very important that we proceed on battery energy storage on Long Island for grid support, for resiliency, and to ensure the fact that if we are ever islanded, quote unquote, that we have this resiliency associated with the battery energy storage system. So it's important to have the standards, codes, proper engineers
providing documentation. In other words, you can't just have an engineer who does plumbing basically say this is a good battery energy storage system. There are experts in the industry. There are knowledgeable people. Brought out Paul Rogers, an expert. The New York City requirements could be incorporated into the Babylon requirements. But my point is that Babylon should lead the entire island in the installation of BESS, the safety of the residents, the safety of the county, the safety of emergency responders, and have really firm, basically lead the industry with proper standards and codes. I think that creating this task force is going to be the way to go. So with that, I'd like to volunteer my information,
We would love to have you.
and I would like to provide this packet, whether you put it into the public record.
Yeah, no, could you, we'll put it,
Right.
incorporate it into the public record.
And as I say, it's a good primer. And there's a highlighted section in here on what the state said about battery energy storage and fires, which is not necessarily correct, but it's in here anyway. So
Well, it's from the state, so. We'll hand that up, and we'll be in touch with you. Yeah, your contact and email is on there? Great, thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board during this public hearing? Okay, I'll take a motion from Councilman McSweeney, second by Councilman Gregory to close and reserve. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing is closed. Decision reserved. Fourth public hearing is public hearing in reference to amending Chapter A 217 recreational fees. I don't have any cards, so I'll take a motion from Councilman Gregory, second by Councilman Mineta to close and reserve. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing is closed. Decision reserved. That's it for the public hearings. We'll go to the agenda. I don't have any cards for the agenda, so we'll go into the consensus resolution agenda for today. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consensus resolution agenda? Seeing none, I'll take a motion on the consensus resolution agenda as listed.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consensus resolution agenda is adopted as listed. Today's resolutions, Resolution 139.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 140.
I'll offer Resolution 140.
I second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. That's it for the resolutions. We'll go to the open portion. We have Kara Ziff. Kara Ziff. And just state your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
What's that?
I'm really nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous.
Kara Ziff, 61 Veronica Lane, North Babylon, New York. Good afternoon, Town of Babylon board members. Imagine if every town resident was able to reduce their weekly home food waste and in return be supplied with fresh food daily. What if our backyard gardens and veggies could flourish with natural fertilizer and compost, helping us become a little more sustainable with the constant rising cost of food? What if we could help fight off those terrible summer bugs and never-ending weeds on our lawn? What if we could even find a new way to educate our little ones, or even find emotional support and compassion during those hard times? Board members, my name is Kara Ziff, and I've been a Town of Babylon resident since 2019. I'm here today to discuss amending Section 106-14. Sections 106-14 is in regards to keeping fowl near dwelling of other people. It specifically states the following. No person shall keep, maintain, house, or possess any fowl on or in building, yard, enclosure within 100 feet of the dwelling, house, or living quarters of any other person. My property, like a majority of town residents, does not meet this one and only requirement that is prohibiting us from keeping our flocks. As I continue to look at the Fowl Town Code, I came across Code 106-17, Sections A through D, about keeping pigeons. Without reading the entire code, I'll paraphrase some key sections that align with why I'd like to change the Fowl Code. Section A discusses not causing a hazard to public health and/or disturbing the peace. For this exact reason, I, as most residents, have a very small backyard flock and only hens, so no roosters. Section B, Part 1, is in regards to allowing pigeons out for exercise no longer than 2 hours. My girls have a large run for this purpose, and when allowed to free range, it is only when I accompany them. Part 2, sanitary conditions. I have sand in my run, which is where they go outside, and shavings in my coop, which is cleaned daily to prevent smell. I also have organic and biodegradable cleaning products that are used. Part 3, food storage. I keep my food sealed in metal waste containers and raised off the floor in my garage. Part 4, square footage of sleeping quarters. Pigeons require 1 square foot versus chickens needing 4 square feet. My coop run combined allows over 300 square feet of space, more than 3 times the required amount. Part 5, screening the houses. My coop is hidden by my fence, with the exception of the roof slightly being visible. It is raised so we can walk in. Part 6, lot lines. My coop also abides by having the proper space to my property line. Section C, permits. While there is no code to have a permit for chickens, I, as well as most residents with fowl, are more than likely not opposed to this, as we understand not all homeowners have the capability nor care to provide adequate shelters, food, etc. The code on pigeons also states that you can own up to 100 fancy pigeons. At no point does it say property sizes need to be a specific size. I would also like to add that the town of Islip borders less than 1.5 miles from my residency. The town of Islip Code 360-12-31 states, any person may keep, maintain, or house poultry provided that such poultry does not constitute a nuisance or create a hazard to the public health. There is 0 concerns for property size as long as there is 500 square feet of rear yard space and there is no more than 15 birds. My argument here today is if my neighbor can own up to 100 pigeons, why can't we have our small backyard flocks? I understand the town's concerns about chickens potentially causing a nuisance and pests, but so do our neighbors' dogs. Or that loud WRX that rumbles down the street every morning at 5 a.m. waking up my baby. Or the house who has grass that's 3 feet tall or summer long. Or the house that looks one step from being condemned. Or the people who next door to me just toss their loose trash on the side of their house. In my opening statement, I listed just some of the immediate positive impacts chickens can have on our daily lives. My girls in particular have brought my family and I such joy over the last 3.5 years, and I'm hoping that my son, who's 8.5 months, will get to enjoy them as much as we have over the last few years. I truly hope you consider amending this section.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other cards? Anyone else wishing to address the board during the open portion? Seeing none. Take a motion from Councilman Gregory, second by Councilman Mineta to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.